Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new, welcome to the channel if you were somebody who listened to my videos previously. If you are one of those people, you may have noticed that I've taken a little bit of a break, and it was a bit of a planned break, but wasn't planned to be quite as long as it's been. Excuse Dougal barking in the background. I think there's a tractor going past. Yeah, so there's been a lot of things happening over the last few months, last couple of months, or however long it's been. Got married, had the most wonderful ceremony, and then I've just been kind of taking a break from social media and just really grounding in nature, gardening, growing vegetables, yeah, and just really allowing things to kind of deepen in my understanding of all the things that I'm really interested in. So I'm really excited to be back, and I'm really excited to kind of launch this 8-part series of the frequency of becoming, this is the first one of those videos. And it's not a new concept, it is something I've spoken about before, but I really now kind of understand and understand it on a much deeper level. So it's just going to delve into how we are being shapes what we experience in our lives, and all the things kind of involved in that, and how we can start consciously beginning creating the new reality, the reality that we desire. It's something I've been experimenting with myself, just with little things, but it's also something I've been working with clients with, and I feel like it's kind of landed and dropped in on a much deeper level. So I'm really excited to share that with you. So if that sounds interesting to you, then I'd really love for you to follow along, and let's begin. So before we begin, I'd just like you to pause for a moment. Just take a deep breath in through the nose, and then take a long, slow, deep breath out. And just feel your awareness just landing into the body. Now become curious and ask yourself this question: who am I being right now? How am I being right now? Not what am I thinking, not the things I've got to do today on the to-do list, but what is the overall feeling that you are embodying, that you're carrying, that you're experiencing? Maybe there is a sense of calm. Maybe there is a sense of anxiety. Just be curious. Maybe there's a layer of excitement. Maybe there's a tired feeling. But I want you to just notice. Just be curious. And then I want you to really feel into who am I being? And how this question might be one of the most important questions that we can ever ask ourselves. And over the last few weeks, I've been asking myself this question many times a day, especially on going to sleep and especially on waking up. But that'll all become clear as I go through the rest of this video and the next videos to follow. But over the years, and you might have been this too, I've been fascinated by something, and it's how two people can experience exactly the same situation. And first of all, their recollection of events is often very different, but also their feeling about the events is often different. One might see possibility and the other might see problems. And it's just really fascinated me how that can be, the same thing, but how it's perceived is very different. It's also really fascinated me, myself, how some mornings we wake up and life feels light, we jump out of bed and we get on with the day and everything feels effortless and we're just really feeling like we're in a flow state. And we don't really know why. We just feel good, so we just get on with our day and we feel we have a great day. And then some mornings, for no apparent reason, we might wake up and feel heavy, life might feel difficult, but there's no obvious reason why that should be the case. Nothing outside has actually changed. There's no major life event happened. It's just how it is. And for a long time, like probably a lot of us, I've thought that the answer might lie in, right, okay, I feel a bit rubbish, so change my thoughts, notice my thoughts, and then, change those thoughts, be more positive, repeat the affirmation, I am whatever. But over time, I've realised something much deeper, and it's really landed with me recently. Our thoughts are not the beginning of this process. Our thoughts are kind of the result of the stage before this. And the thoughts that we have are a reflection of the state that we are already embodying. And this is the key point. So I know I've used this analogy before, but I'm going to use it again because it works really well. I want you to imagine for a moment that your mind is like a huge radio. And all around your mind, in the atmosphere, just like there are radio waves in the atmosphere that we can't see, there's those countless stations of broadcasting. And in the analogy of our mind being the radio station, those stations are different emotional states. So just like we have, and I know David listens to this, we have a radio station called Red Road, Radio Sheffield, or whatever the radio station is, BBC Radio. There's all those stations, hundreds and hundreds of radio stations. But in this analogy, there is a radio station that is called Fear FM, for instance. And Fear FM, it broadcasts and plays songs that are all fear-based. So all of the songs and all of the things they talk about on there are fear-based. There's also a radio station that is gratitude. I can't think of a funny name for that, but a gratitude station, a creativity station, a hopelessness station, a possibility, an excitement station. Now, all of these stations are always there, just like all of the actual radio stations, they're always there. But the question is, which one are you tuned into? And when we wake up and we feel a bit stressed, you'll notice that your mind naturally goes and finds all of the things to be stressed about and to ruminate upon. When we wake up feeling grateful and happy, our mind effortlessly finds things to be grateful for. It shows us those things, but it also shows us the beauty of life, and everything feels lighter. So nothing magical's actually happened here. It's just a case of what we're tuned into. We're just simply tuned into a type of a certain radio station of thought. So all of those thoughts already exist in this kind of sea of atmosphere around us. They're all there. But what we tune our dial towards is what we receive as those thoughts coming into our awareness. So before anyone thinks here that I'm just saying that we should simply think positive, there was all of that movement, a number of years ago, and I jumped on that bandwagon, obviously. It's not what I'm meaning at all. I'm just talking about how our state is what attracts those thoughts in. So if we can get to the root of what is causing the types of thoughts that we're having, then we can start to do something about that. Now, it got me thinking about how is it that sometimes you can wake up feeling great and sometimes you can wake up feeling rubbish. And there's many things I've discovered that influence this. Obviously, we have our physiology, we have our biology, we have our nervous system, we have our hormones, we have our circadian rhythm, we have many, many bodily processes that happen that affect, things. We have our sleep. Did we have a good quality of sleep? Did we have a broken sleep? Did we have bizarre dreams? Did we have weird dreams? What had happened the day before? What did we watch on TV? Who have we been around? What beliefs that we have in our subconscious are surfacing? How safe are we feeling? There's many, many things, and I'll talk about this in more detail in another video, but there's many things that affect how, the state that we wake up in. let's just keep it to waking up in, because that tends to dictate how we're going to go through the day. So they all combine and create an overall energetic frequency and an emotional state that we begin and step out into the day with. Now, here's the really empowering part. We can't choose the very first feeling that appears when we blink open our eyes and we realise we're in our room, and then we start going into our day. We can't change that very first feeling that appears. We can't choose it, we can change it, but we can't choose that very first feeling that appears. But we can influence what happens next. And we can begin to consciously, in that moment, when we first of all tune in and recognise, what am I being? Ooh, I'm being a bit negative, feeling a bit, anxious about the day. We can then, in this crucial point, shift how we are being. We can cultivate a different state. And I'm going to go into how to do this easily in another video, so stay tuned to this series because it's going to be very powerful. And when our state changes, it's like we've tuned into another radio station. So we say we change from feeling anxious to feeling joyful. We've tuned the dial into the joyful radio station, and so we are cultivating that state of being joyful. That means that the thoughts available to us, the songs on that joyful radio station, are very different to the ones that they were previously. This then affects the choices that we make moment to moment in the day. It affects our behaviour, it affects our posture, it affects our physiology, and how we enter into our day, into our world, into our workplace, into our relationships, into conversation, into all of those things. So this is the root of our reality, if you like. This is where to actually create the shift, which is so incredibly powerful. And over time, the more we practice this, and the more we realise that we are not victims of our external reality, and that we can actually shift ourselves in order to create a new experience of reality, all of our life begins to change. And all of those things that we have always dreamt of, have always desired to experience, and all of the things, all of the desires and the abundant life that we would like to have, start to manifest, because thoughts do become things, but the bit before that, which is the state, is what attracts the thoughts. So it's the state that's the most important thing. Now, it's not about pretending that everything in the world is wonderful, because obviously if you do tune into any of the news stations or anything like that, it's not. But actually, when you do start practicing this, it is like everything is wonderful. But it is about recognising that we're not simply victims of our thoughts, that they're not just haphazard things that happen, that they are not actually us, because that's the other thing with thoughts. We think our thoughts are us, and they are not. So from this new kind of exciting, powerful standpoint, we recognise that we've got far more influence than we've ever imagined before. And I believe that we are incredibly powerful creative beings, and we've just not realised this. And even though I conceptually know this, I don't think I fully am able to grasp this. I feel like I'm starting to grasp this. And we're not creative in terms of controlling everything that happens, but we are creative in our ability to influence the quality of consciousness that we bring to each moment that we experience. Now, that is the absolute key. What is the quality of consciousness I am bringing to this moment? What is the state that I am being, in other words? And from that really powerful, pivotal root space, different possibilities begin to emerge. And this is so exciting. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to explore this on much deeper levels. I'm going to really look at why the nervous system clings to what's familiar, why change feels uncomfortable, how our physiology, our biology becomes attached to old emotional patterns and beliefs that were formed a long time ago, and how we can start to gently begin to create a new way of being that's a consistent practice. And the more we practice it, the easier it becomes. And I've been doing this for a few weeks, and I've noticed incredible shifts. Even just experimenting with it, just really noticed incredible shifts. I've been experimenting with it myself, but I've also been experimenting with it with clients and getting them to do this process, and I've noticed enormous shifts. So it's not about forcing anything or striving or doing more, but it is about conscious practice. Now, we're not becoming somebody else or somebody new necessarily, but we are now in the process of remembering who we are beneath all of the conditioning and layers that we've had piled on top of us for many different things. We've been taught that we're powerless. We've been taught that we're at the effect of the external reality. It's never been true. So we're starting to remember this, and this is in my mind, the step one of this process of remembering this, a practical step that we can all do. So I'm really excited about this series, and I'm really, really, really excited to be back, and I'm fully, just really excited to be doing this, and I can't wait to start connecting with you again. And I'd just love you to join me for the rest of this series and to see what you think, and we will build the next piece of the puzzle together in the next video. And if you've enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you subscribed. I'm going to call this series The Frequency of Becoming, and at the moment I feel like there'll be 8, but there may be more. But I'd just really love to hear your comments, and maybe there's something that you struggle with to do with this, that maybe you'd like to ask a question. I'd love to hear your questions. I'd love to hear, what state do you find yourself waking up in most mornings? How do you find that this influences the rest of your day? I do read every comment, and I genuinely feel really connected to everybody that does comment on here, and I feel like we're just walking this path together. So it feels like a lovely family. So I'm really excited to be back, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. And until the next one, take good care of yourself and have a most amazing day. Asking yourself, what am I being?